Well, good morning. Sunday, November 4th, I believe. Finally have a beautiful day here in Wisconsin. It's actually not super windy. It's not cold. Well, it's I think we're at about 35 degrees right now, so from what it was, this ain't bad. But yeah, there's no trees or leaves on the trees. They're all pretty much bare. All the wind we had from Hurricane Sandy kind of blew the rest of that off. But this is going to be a video of the MATROD. It's not November 11th yet, but I believe it was November 11th was the first time I put this on YouTube. Back in 2010, I think. So yeah, 3 years ago. Had a lot of hits on it, a lot of comments, a lot of people asking about it. I've made a lot of videos over the years of the car. It's fun. I mean, I'm sure you've all heard the story. Maybe you haven't heard the story, but I got this car for free. People at work needed it gone out of their garage, middle of January. So a buddy and I went over there with a car dolly and shoveled out about 10 feet of snow to get to the garage, and the car's wider than what the alley was plowed out, so get the car out there and then slide it sideways and then slide it onto the dolly. It was an adventure. Buddy and I still talk about it and laugh about it when we go out drinking. I didn't want the car. I had no use for the car. Didn't have an engine, didn't have a transmission. And then being an Oldsmobile, and I'm a Chevy guy, it's like, what am I going to do with this big Oldsmobile? So I sat behind the barn for, a good 2 years. Mowed grass around it, would push it here and there to get it out of the way so I can cut the grass underneath it, and, contemplated selling it, contemplated scrapping it. Right when Craigslist started coming out and getting popular, I put it on Craigslist, and, people want to use it for a demo car. It's like, I can't let it go for that. And then I had one guy call me up, he wanted to put it on a four-wheel drive frame, and make it into a big mud truck. It's like, By that time I was already starting to fall in love with the way the car looked. And about the same time, my other buddy and I, we bought, 11 military surplus 6.2 Hummer engines. And I put one in his truck, and I put one in my truck, and we put one in his dad's Jeep, and we sold one, and still had a bunch left, and I had a couple good ones that, didn't need a whole bunch of machine work to make run. So I pieced one together, and it's like, you know what? I need to put one in that car. So I did some measuring, did some figuring, looked at it, and it's like, yeah, I can make that work. So I was like, the day after 4th of July, drug it up to the shop, and went to it, and it wasn't as easy as you would think. I mean, a 6.2 is basically the same dimensions as any GM motor, or Chevy motor I should say, small block or big block, so the motor mounts and the bell housing and all that are identical. I could take this motor out and drop in a 350 and it would bolt right in. Not that I would want to do that. But the Oldsmobile in 1964, their motor mounts were on the front of the motor, and there were no provisions for a side mount, so I had to make my own motor mounts. The transmission in here was a little itty bitty, 2-speed something or other, so I had to cut the floor out so I get the Turbo 400 to fit. And then it sits pretty much, I can't move this motor any other direction. It sits right where it has to be, because the steering just clears the oil pan, the hood just clears the transmission. I mean, I got the motor pretty much up tight against the firewall, a couple inches, and that's about it. So where it sat is pretty much where it ended up being, and it works out good. Radiator, the stock one was never going to be big enough, so I bought the biggest aftermarket aluminum one, and I didn't feel like notching the frame out and making it go lower, so that's why it's kind of at an angle. It's just in the front of the frame, and it's as high as I can go without hitting the hood, and that's why I had to lean it back so it just clears the hood. And it's just barely above the thermostat. It's, if anything, it's probably just a hair below. But it hasn't overheated. It runs good in the hot days. I just got an electric fan on it. The engine oil cooler, I got a big cooler below that, actually more level with the bumper. You're probably not going to see it in this video. The top cooler here is for the transmission. Just got one battery. I mean, I don't drive it in the cold weather, or it doesn't start in the cold weather, so one battery starts it no problem. And I've started it, when the engine was in the 20s, and it starts right up. I don't know if I'd want to try it when it's below 0, but I don't drive it when it's that cold. Converted it to disc brakes. Found a company, I forget where that company was out of now, but they made a kit, so that worked out good. Stops pretty decent for a big old boat. The exhaust is 3-inch, pretty much from about the back seat out, and it's dual straight pipes, no mufflers. I mean, she's got a bark all its own. I'm sure you've seen other videos of it. So this will be its 3rd year on the road. I think it's got close to 11,000 miles on it already. I love it. I mean, this car's just been a blast. The only thing I really need to find yet is the chrome trim down the side. I only have maybe 2 pieces of the original trim, and I haven't looked super hard, but I haven't come across any yet in the last 4 or 5 years. And there's some interior pieces I'd like to find. I'd like to find some cooler looking wheels for it, but everybody comments on the wheels. It has that, looks like something right out of Cuba or Russia. It's got that, old school bare minimums look, and it's grown on me, so I kind of, left it. I don't think I could ever put hubcaps on. It just would look stupid. So I might take those off, sandblast them, and paint them white or whiter, because I just took them off a Suburban and stuck them on there. But that's it. That is the MATROD. I mean, you've seen it run, so I don't need to start it up again. Maybe I'll put a clip of it running. Interior, I mean, it's bone stock, other than some gauges and some homemade cup holders I made out of DT466 international pistons. Like I said, some gauges down there just so I can monitor the motor, but otherwise it's, I got my fuel pressure gauge there, but otherwise it's stock. Even for its vintage, it's very clean. And this car's just got a ton of stories, and I'll leave you with one good story here. I had this car done in November of, I think it was 2010, and didn't know what I was going to do with it, so I put it in storage. I was still looking for a front bumper, and I got a car coming here, so I got to watch out so I don't get run over. I'll wait until he goes by. Alright, so I had it in storage, and I was looking for a front bumper because the car didn't come with a bumper. And I spent a good, year and a half trying to find a bumper. You can buy them brand new, you can buy them re-chromed, $800. It's like, I don't have that much money into the whole car yet. Wasn't going to spend $800 for that bumper. So I managed to find one, and that's a whole nother story. So I had the car in the shop. It was like, February, had up in jack stands, and I was selling stuff on Craigslist, and some people from Kenosha were coming up to buy an axle I had for sale. And they come up, and I got it right after work. I met them there and told them I had to run in there and get my key for my storage unit, and I'll meet you guys back outside. And well, they managed to follow me in, and I was in my office, and all of a sudden the one guy yells out, he goes, "Holy crap, where'd you find this?" And the other guy's like, "What the hell?" And I kind of peeked my head out of the office. I go, "What's up?" And he goes, "Is this your car?" And I go, "Well, yeah, I've had it now for a couple of years. Where'd you get it from?" And I go, "Some guy at work had to get it out of his garage." He's like, "This used to be my nephew's car." And I go, "No way." And he goes, "Yeah, he was restoring it and lost interest and sold it. But supposedly this is an original Kenosha car. Some little old grandma owned it." And he told me a bunch of stories about this car and how it was, everybody remembers this car down there. So, it's just an odd meeting of somebody in, middle of nowhere, and a story of this car. And I have a lot more stories. I mean, all the car shows I've taken it to and everything. it's just amazing. You know, people walk up and, well, my grandpa had that car, or I had that car going through college, you know, and that car was indestructible, and those old Oldsmobiles, you know, they just go and go. So it brought back a lot of memories for a lot of people when I take it to shows, and you know, it's one of those cars now where I don't think I could ever get rid of. It's part of me now, and I'll always keep it. That, and it's got diesel in it, so you know, that's what I'm all about, being a diesel mechanic. And it's 30 miles to the gallon. You can't go wrong with that either. So that's it. This is my, you know, 3-year anniversary video of this car being on YouTube. I know it's kind of long-winded, but hopefully it explains a lot. And I'll talk to you guys later.